What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Steelers Rewind here on PennLive.com. Nick Farabaugh here with you all. The Steelers lose 31-28 in Chicago. I made the trip as usual, and this game was one not too unexpected, I feel like, from what we thought. The Steelers really struggled with stopping Caleb Williams. The run game for Chicago didn't really get cooking. There were some runs, there were some 10, 12-yard runs, but the down-to-down success of that run game wasn't great. The Steelers bottled it up. They didn't allow them to create explosives. That's been one of the big things that has allowed the Bears' offense to really cook and get going. And the Steelers didn't allow them to just ground and pound them into oblivion and then hit the big plays off that. Instead, what happened was Caleb Williams, who was still scattershot and sprayed the ball everywhere, he and his receivers were not on the same page. He also had just a disastrous play where he sacked in the end zone. TJ Watt pops it out. Nick Carter recovers and Steelers get a free touchdown. He was able to quick game them up. 2.6 time to throw. It's the shortest time to throw he's had in a very long time. He is a guy that has had that way up, over 3.2 seconds in a lot of games where he's extending plays. And there were some plays, but he was staying in structure, throwing the ball over the middle of the field. That was the big thing this week, was he was just quick gaming them in a lot of ways and hitting guys over the middle of the field wide open. The reverts touchdown. I mean, the Steelers are in spot drop cover 3. You can't play spot drop cover 3 against reverts. Everyone knows that. If you played Madden, you know you can't do that, and that's what happens. And a lot of these schematics are forcing these linebackers into tough spots. You have to kind of try and cover 2 guys almost at once. It's just really hard. I thought the schematics took a step back. The Steelers were doing some things in the first half that I thought gave the Bears some pause. And I think that's part of why the Steelers were able to kind of stop them early on before they were really able to open things up, really in the second half. But it still really wasn't super consistent even in the first half. They brought some blitzes from different spots. Caleb was able to mitigate some pressure with his legs. But really, the defense struggled. And I just thought the coaching was really stale. I thought Ben Johnson forced the Steelers to match personnel. For example, in the 2-yard touchdown run by Kyle Manungai, the Steelers were a nickel. It was 11 personnel, and they responded in nickel on the 2-yard line. And we've kind of seen, a lot of teams starting to play down in distance rather than personnel. That's why. You don't want to be a nickel on the goal line like that. And the Steelers only had 2 down linemen. They ran straight up the middle for a touchdown. It was just too easy. And I thought the schematics were very, very stale. I thought it in large part was the same way offensively. I thought the first half plan was great. Misdirection, getting guys on the move, using Darnell Washington and Spencer Anderson in space. But they went back to the well too many times, 1. 2, they didn't have anything beyond a short passing game through the air in this one. They did not have a downfield passing attack. They did not have an intermediate passing attack. We have talked about that. They don't really have a super consistent separator on this roster, even against these corners. But Rudolph wasn't great throwing the ball down the field. A few of them were underthrown, especially the pick by Nashawn Wright. On top of that, the deep ball, Roman Wilson, second to last drive, he's open. It doesn't even have a shot. That ball sails out of bounds. Rudolph was not great there. I thought his pressure management at times, he was oblivious to it. I thought Rudolph's throw to Freiermuth was good, but I didn't think he played particularly well in this game. Certainly, he was not the only person at fault in this one. I thought the O-line played pretty well, but there's just some things, illegal formation, for example, on what would have been a really big and really good play by Mason Rudolph. It would have been a 30-yard run to the 50-yard line on the second to last drive. They get called for illegal formations, goes 4th and 9, and Tomlin punts. On 4th and 9 from the 22, you can argue that decision. They did get the ball back, but they couldn't even get to the 45-yard line to give Boz a chance. The passing offense is just a chore to watch. It has been with Rodgers. It has been with Mason. If they're not getting the quick passing and going screens and things like that, they are cooked. This O-line has been fine. The run game in this game was certainly very good. But the rotations, the personnel deployment, and the quarterback play, wide receiver play, there's just a lot of issues. But the coaching continues to fall short in a lot of these ways. Now, there were positives. Again, I thought the run game really did well. I think the Gainwell-Warren backfield is working very well. I think that the O-line is starting to really play well. I think Frazier, McCormick, and Faltanu, Sayamalo had pretty good games in this one. I thought Broderick was fine for the most part. Washington allowed a sack to Sweat, but really, I think that was Rudolph kind of. It wasn't a super quick loss. It also wasn't a super slow loss, but it was such a big loop around by Sweat that really you shouldn't get sacked, certainly strip sacked in a situation like that. This team, man, I mean, you know, if we can go down, you know, they had some inopportune penalties. They had bad punt performance. They're not great as a kick return team. Actually, today they were awful there. They were really behind on some field position stuff today. But, you know, you see the positives sometimes. You see the pass rush. You see, I think, an O-line that's starting to mix it together. I think you see a run game that is coherent. I think you see some top-end talent at times. But the coaching's not great. It falls short, and it kind of creates this whimsical team that is just a roller coaster. It is a painfully mediocre team. I think that's the way you can describe it. Sure, they can beat the Colts, they can beat the Patriots, but they can lose to the Bengals. They can lose games like this, very winnable. Sure, they can go out next week and beat the Bills. They can split with the Ravens. They can meet these teams because the Steelers are kind of lucky in the fact that there's really not an elite team on their schedule this year. There are good teams, and the Bills and the Ravens and the Lions all fit that bill. But they're not elite teams. They're not unbeatable. It's not like the Steelers are going to have to overcome a mountain to beat those teams. And it's a down year. And I think that's the disappointing thing for the Steelers this year is in a down year, they're not going to be able to take advantage of it because they're just so painfully average. There's some personnel decisions there, but the coaching has also really fallen substandard. And this game just kind of underscores that. All right, folks, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn the notification bell for more, and thanks for watching.